In California, we have the death penalty, and the reprieve is really only granted by the governor. And it's a matter of life and death. The daily reprieve from my alcoholism, from all my negativity, from all my defects of character, which I still have, but I have a daily reprieve from them. I mentioned this at a meeting, and someone said, if you did it properly, they'd be removed. I said, like judgmentalism? We're not close, that person and I. But the gift of today, and I want to say one more thing, and then we're all done, and we can all go home. And I spoke at I think Florida in St. Petersburg a few years ago, and we had Hurricane Francis. That was my first hurricane. I want to thank you for that. And now it's 100-degree heat, which I want to thank you for too. But I get drinking dreams. And Joan Larkin, in one of her poems, says, my dreams remind me of what I used to be. And I get these sometimes, and I didn't understand them. They're very vivid. And I was sober a couple of years, and I was having these awful dreams where I'd be drunk, or I'd be driving drunk, or this happening. And I wanted to talk to my sponsor about it, but you don't want to give your sponsor too much information, you know? Because I want him to think well of me, you know, how advanced I am. My nobility quotient. So I said, what does it mean if someone in a different state is having drinking dreams? And he said, have you had the one yet? And then he described this deeply perverted, nasty dream, which I had never had. And I recoiled as from a hot flame and said, absolutely not. And then 6 months later, I had that dream. I said, what do these things mean? They're very upsetting. He said, well, a couple of things. He said, number one, drinking dreams mean that for us, our drinking has become a nightmare. And I like that. I like that, the nightmare. He also said this, people who have drinking dreams don't get drunk. He said, did you ever have a drinking dream while you were drinking? Only sober people get them. So it's very weird. But when I get them, sometimes I wake up very confused and very troubled, and I'm thrown off base, and I realize it was only a dream. And then I usually call a couple people and talk about it. As I just had another dream. I'm sponsoring a fellow who's, I have a couple of guys I sponsor, and most of them don't call, so it's really easy. But a young man who's a gangbanger, covered with tattoos and jail time. We have so little in common, but we get along just fine. And we've had conversations. He's bought his first car rather than stealing it. It's such an advance. He likes stealing red cars, you know, and I understand that. Anyway, we were getting used to each other, and we went to San Antonio together and looked at he had a great time, and life's good. He'll have almost 2 years now. I gave him the talk you give sponsees about how there's a lot more to not drinking than not drinking. You have to let go of old behaviors and learn new behaviors and develop new skills and new friendships and new relationships and do all that stuff. New stuff. And he listened. He's a bright kid. And he said, I am hanging out with an old white guy. He said, I am changing a lot. And when we do hang out with unlikely people, change really does happen. Change really does happen. So I want to just say this is a whole new way of doing things. And, on a daily basis, I ask for enough. Give me enough faith, enough hope, enough kindness and charity to last through the day. And by the end of the day, it's gone. By about 10 p.m., I'm done. I used to call people back at 10 p.m. I no longer do that because I have nothing to say. But to ask for enough. If you're new to conventions and conferences, these are fun. The first couple I went to were roller coasters for me. Up, down, up, down. It balances out. And if you had a good time here, if you had a terrifying time here, come back. And think of the international conference in Atlanta, Georgia in just a couple years. I've been going to international conferences since my sponsor made me go with him to New Orleans in 1980. And Marty Mann, who's right over there, and Lois Wilson, who's in a couple of these pictures, were still alive, and they were both there, and they waved at us. I had been waved at by Lois Wilson and Marty Mann. And I'm sure that's helped my sobriety. So if I don't see you before then, I hope to see you in Atlanta in 2015. Thanks a lot.